Hey guys, welcome back to One All's Pub. Alright, on the bar top in front of you, you see three of my favorite cold steel knives. Actually, they're all the same model, just different blade shapes and styles. I referenced my video, Bert, why don't you post it around here, about Cold Steel and just the brand in general that I did recently. And in that I said I was going to start reviewing some of my Cold Steel knives, and that is what I'm doing here. These are the Mini Recon 1. One each in the spear point, clip point, and Tonto blade shapes. Excuse me, that's the spear point. That's the Tonto clip point. These are the three that are available, and I have all three because I really like this particular model in the Cold Steel lineup, which is a little strange for me because frankly it's a little bit small for me. Traditionally I like about a 3.5 inch blade to carry, EDC wise. It's just the size, the blade size and the handle that traditionally comes with a 3.5 inch blade just fits my hand better, and everything that's just kind of the size that I always more or less favor. I have a few smaller blades as well, and around the 3 inch is about as low as I like to go as far as that I would carry. And these actually are just sub 3 inches. They're listed as 3 inch, but really they're like 2 7/8 if you really put a measuring tape to them. But that said, it's just such a great knife and it feels bigger and acts bigger in the hand than its statistics tell us. So just for that reason, for whatever reason, I just really dig this, and I carry this any of these three as an EDC on a fairly regular basis, and never feel underknifed with them. So let's talk about it. Let's actually start with the clip point version. Whoop, that's not the clip point. That's the spear point. Let's start with the clip point version, which is probably my favorite of the bunch. You'll note on all three of them. I'll go ahead and open them up here. On all three, that the black coating, the Tough X or whatever they call it, is stripped off of them. Not only off of the blade, but off of the lock bar and off of the clip. I don't like that black coating. I don't tend to favor black coated blades anyway. I do like Kershaw's black wash a lot. It's kind of like, basically a black stonewash. So, and I really like stonewash a lot. Anyway, I don't like those black coated blades. And they always, on the Cold Steel, it's such a cheap coating that they all go south really fast anyway, so I just went ahead and took it off. On all three of these, I did all three of these with steel wool. Just sat down at the counter and on a cutting board and just took steel wool to them, took the knife apart and steel wooled them up, and that works great. You can use steel wool, you can use chemical stripper, you can even take another, I've even not on any of these three, but on another knife, I took another knife blade and just scratched it off, 90% of it off, and then finished off the little areas where I couldn't reach to with the steel wool. I've done all three. I have to say, personally, I favor the steel wool method. It does take a little bit longer, probably, but there's none of the mess and chemical danger issues associated with a harsh chemical stripper or cleanup associated with it. Just sit down TV tray or at the counter with on top of a cutting board and watch TV and just go after it and get her done. Anyway, they all came out really nice, as you can see. Every one of them just has this beautiful stone wash underneath, and the clips, you see that because I did them with the steel wool instead of the chemical stripper, it left the It left the Cold Steel logo that's engraved on the clip black, which I think is a very nice touch. So again, all three knives, same kind of deal. Same with that guy there, and again, another beautiful stone wash underneath. I don't know why Lynn Thompson insists on covering up this beautiful stone wash with that cheesy coating, but at any rate, very much digging these knives. Like I said, they're great little EDC knives, lightweight. Bert, go ahead and give us the specs here. Lightweight, full grip here, all four fingers you can fit on there, no problem. Jimping up here, not particularly effective, but the way that it kind of scoops here, it does give your thumb a natural place to rest. You can also then come up on top very easily and still have a really nice grip. You're not in any danger of losing grip on any Cold Steel G10 knife. you know, how that G10 comes from Cold Steel. It's so grippy. That said, on every one of these, you know, once you've had it for a while, you know, carry them for a couple, 2-3 weeks, like any G10, it does ease up and get much more user friendly or hand friendly and pocket friendly. It doesn't have to be so brutal and sticky. It does ease up and get a much more friendly texture to it. When you first get them, it's almost creepy feeling how tacky and sticky they are. You almost feel like your hands are going to be, you know, like you've got to go wash your hands when you let go of it, because they feel like they should be all tacky. On all Cold Steels I do, and you can see it right here, on all Cold Steels I will bend out the pocket clip just to prevent, because they come so freaking tight. I'll bend that out just to prevent that from being an issue, and I sand under the clips just in this area. Some people will sand the whole thing from here back or whatever, or do the nothing fancy mod where he puts all that, what is it, JB weld. That's just, wow, I don't understand that at all, to be honest with you. I just sand right under the area where the actual pocket clip meets the G10, and where it will abrade on your pocket, and the rest of it just kind of wears down to a nice, even, you know, less aggressive texture anyway over time. And it doesn't tear my pockets up at all. But I do bend them out. I mean, they're significant. You can see space between there. Listen, if you can hear that, that's the clip banging on the G10 handle there. I do that because this was the way that this is done. There's still plenty of grip there. I'm not one of those guys that has to have a pocket clip so freaking tight that you can't get it in out of your pocket, or you're so scared you're going to lose it. Honestly, I've never lost a knife in my pocket, knock on wood. But, and because of the way that I carry most of my knives, in my dedicated knife pocket in my carpenter jeans, it's really kind of difficult for them to come out. And this gives me plenty of retention. And so this is how I prefer to have them. Like I said, the clip point is probably my favorite of the three. And I don't really know why. Honestly, it's probably not the most aesthetic of the three. I mean, the Tonto on this guy just looks awesome. I mean, it looks like it was built for that knife. You know, the Tonto blade shape, Cold Steel, little Mini Recon Tonto, and it's just such an aggressive little Tonto. It's so cool. But Tontos aren't my favorite blade shape as far as actual EDC and cutting and whatnot. And of course, the spear point is very functional as well, and very nice looking, and nice swedge here on top. But I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I think maybe it's because it's a little broader, maybe. I'm not sure what it is, but I think the clip point's my favorite. But that's kind of waffle. Honestly, I like it. If it is, it's just, you know, if it's a third on each, maybe this one gets 37% or 40%, and then these two split up the other 30 or whatever. You know, you get my point. It's not by much, but I tend to probably carry this one more. I think just aesthetically, I like this a little bit better than the spear point for whatever reason, and I think it's a little bit more functional probably than the Tonto. That said, you'll notice on all three of them, I have modified them, the blades. I've modified them to have custom sharpening choils. Cold Steel has this rather annoying habit of not giving us a good plunge grind area. As they grind these blades down, they leave a unsharpened piece of the edge that runs back here, and because of that, you end up with this unsightly area that it's not fully sharpened, and it just looks bad. So get the trusty Dremel out and create my own custom sharpening choil for each of these guys. As you can see. That makes sharpening it much easier, and it allows you to get a nice clean bevel all the way back. And because I put these on the wicked edge, and as you can see with the Tonto here, because I put them on the wicked edge, I do like a pretty bevel. I do polish them up and make them into wicked little slicers. Because of that, I really don't want to have this butt ugly plunge grind false edge at the end of this that really just makes me crazy. So I took the advice of Rob the Apostle P and created my own sharpening choils. So there we go on every one of these. And I've done it on all the Cold Steel knives pretty much that I have, with the exception of one that have those stupid sharpening choils. And that one I just haven't gotten around to yet. I'm sure I will. Anyway, great little knives. Like I said, every one of them, they all feel the same in hand as far as that goes. So pick your blade style. They're about 50, 55 bucks mostly. They tend to run that. Aussate A steel, which I actually like a lot. By the way, back to price real quick. This guy, though, I got for 37. Whatever reason, the clip point version, I tend to find them much cheaper. I've seen them recently for as little as 41. And a buddy of mine bought one for about 32. So it's just, sometimes you can catch a deal on the clip point, not the others. I don't know. Maybe they're getting ready to discontinue this particular one, and so they're just trying to get rid of them, or I don't know what the deal is. But and maybe that's why it's my favorite. Maybe because I get such a good deal on it, I just dig it. It was also my first one, so. At any rate, anyway, back to the steel. Aussate A steel, very decent steel. A lot of people talk about how it's just barely a step above 8CR13 MOV or this or that. And frankly, it's a really good solid steel. It's very easy to sharpen, and it holds a decent edge. And you can get good work out of this. Yeah, it's not a super steel. You wouldn't want to put it in a premium knife, but these aren't premium knives. These are rough and tumble, get the job done. Don't be afraid to beat on them. Kind of EDC knives, and for the money and the heat treat that Cold Steel seems to put on these knives, they seem to get really good performance out of this steel. So and I really enjoy using it and sharpening it, and I'm pretty impressed. I mean, for what, for the price and for the amount what it takes to maintain an edge on these, which is next to nothing. And how easily it polishes up and reprofiles, and the amount of edge retention that you do get and the toughness that you do get out of it. It's a pretty nice compromise. I really do think I see why Lynn Thompson has used this steel for so long. Now there's rumors that he's going to change to something else, that maybe there's going to be some CTS BD1 coming out on some models. We've already seen the Recon one, and I think the AK-47. They've released those with CTS XHP, which is a serious upgrade, which seriously ups the price of the knife. But that said, considering what these knives are, I'm really happy with them at Aussate or Aussate A. So you're not going to get any complaints from me. Again, like I said, great ergonomics, very functional clip. Don't be intimidated by the G10. It smooths up after you've carried it for a few weeks pretty nicely. You can tell this one's the one I've carried the most, though it is the smoothest, and this one is probably this one's the newest and the one I've carried the least, and it is still a little grippier. These two are pretty close. Still, probably this one's a little bit better. But again, when I first got this, I carried this a whole ton. I mean, probably a couple, 2 weeks straight just with this knife pretty much in my pocket. And, it wore off really, wore down to a nice smooth texture really quickly. This one I haven't carried quite as much, and so it still retains a little bit of that Cold Steel grip, but that Cold Steel G10 grippiness. But you guys, really, if you're looking for just a nice, affordable, well-built knife, you're going to have a hard time, in a smaller 3-inch size, you're going to have a hard time going wrong with one of these Mini Recons. You get the Andrew Demko Triad Lock, which is absolutely a brute, and in this little knife, you're just never, it's such an overbuilt lock for this size knife, you're never going to have to worry about this knife ever giving you any problems or failing on you lock-wise. And what I love about the Triad Lock is not only is it so solid and so stout, and you can't get any blade play out of this thing. It's just rock solid. I am muscling that. The thing is rock solid. I mean, there's not even a hint of sometimes you say, oh, it's rock solid. And there might be, if you're just absolutely muscling it, you might get just a hint of a little wiggle there, but you know that you're so far beyond what is considered normal attempt to do that, that you're that you still have to call it rock solid. Well, these things are just rock solid regardless. I mean, they're just brutes. And what's cool about that is not only that are they so rock solid, but free drop. Every one of these guys will just free drop, and yet each is just stout and rock solid. Man, I love the Access Lock, the Triad Lock for this reason right here. Man, I just do really dig the Triad Lock for this reason. Absolutely rock solid. Andrew Demko Triad Lock on the Cold Steel Mini Recon. Great smaller size EDC. depending on what you like to carry. But even if you like to carry a bigger EDC like I do, you may find, give one of these a try. This is probably my go-to small EDC when I feel like going with something small. Since I've gotten this first one and then the others, this is kind of my go-to when I want to carry a 3-inch. I love the way this knife feels in the hand. I love the way it performs. I love how easy it is to touch back up and maintain the edge. I love the sheer brute strength and reliability and smoothness. I mean, it's an incredibly smooth little knife. Smooth little knife. I just really, really can't recommend this knife more highly. Price considered, especially with that guy considering the deal I got him, but price considered, if I don't give rating scales 1 to 10 and all that, and I'm not going to start. But I'm just saying if I did, man, this little sucker, price considered, would be a 9.5 or a 10. It's just such a great little knife. All right, guys, pick yourself up a Cold Steel Mini Recon 1, and you will not be disappointed. All right, that's 1 of those 2 cents, guys. Keep the change. Sláinte.